Good morning on a snowy Sunday Austin morning.
Yeah, first time in 14 years,
At least for us it is.
at least for us.
Can you give us some stories on J.J. Cale and maybe Jesse Ed Davis?
Yeah. JJ, I couldn't tell you three words that JJ ever said. He was a real quiet guy who kept to himself, and he lived in the garage apartment. He and Patsy Camp lived in the garage apartment behind the plantation where Ed Davis, Jesse Ed Davis, me, and Jimmy Carstein, and Chuck Blackwell lived. And he was always writing songs. He played for Delaney and Bonnie. He was the first guitar player with us, and it went. I think it lasted about 3 days.
That's short.
And that's not his thing. It wasn't a lot of people's thing working with Delaney and Bonnie and friends, but I saw some merit to it. I felt like I was a part of it because I was the original. I was the original friend, And but JJ, he stuck to his songwriting because that's what he was best at. And he and Delaney didn't see eye to eye musically, but JJ was out in his little apartment writing songs like Magnolia, After Midnight. Just one great thing after the next. And he'd come in and he'd play them for me. And he was a kind, gentle man, And he was one of them that was cut from the same cloth of all the Tulsa people, except he didn't act out, He had a whole different demeanor and approach to what we were doing. I read a thing on some people just don't want to be a star, even though they're known everywhere, they just don't want to be a star. Johnny Winters was one of them. I read a thing about that he was saying that to be a rock star is real hard. He said, I'd rather play the rest of my life and play the blues. He said, that's what I feel. So he had his options to go down one compromising road or stay on the one he's on now. And that's what JJ did. And I couldn't understand it really when I was that young. I think I was 17 or 18 when Delaney and Bonnie and I got together and started the band. But it was brilliant. And Ed Davis was another one. He had a tragic ending to his life. He was such a great guitar player. He was the one who mainly influenced Dwayne Almon's slide playing. And all you got to do is listen to old Taj Mahal, the Taj Mahal records, and you can hear exactly what I'm talking about.
Did they
Dwayne
know?
said that as well.
I was going to ask you, did they know each other?
No, they didn't know each other, but they knew of each other, because way back then, the Allman Brothers, no one knew who they were,
No offense.
No offense, not at all. It's just that we all start somewhere and sometime, and until people get to know us. But Ed Davis was he was an innovator long before a lot of people now that have lived up to this time.
Was he happy with where he was at the time when he passed away?
I honestly don't think so, because he got involved in mainlining heroin. And as a matter of fact, the very last time I saw him, he's lived out on Venice Beach, out at Venice Beach. And I was just hanging out with him. And I come back to visit. Eric wasn't doing anything. He was on doing that thing he was doing, staying locked away for 3 years. I didn't have anything else to do, so I'd fly back to America, just get a limo and go stay at the Continental Hyatt House and then go visit my friends and stuff. And I went to see Ed Davis, and so the car was outside. And I couldn't believe it when he asked me, he said, "Hey man, would you like to get down with me?" And I went, "What?"
Oh dear.
And I went, "No, man, I'm afraid I can't go that way, That's too big for me, And the next thing you know, I turned around, and it was after the Bangladesh concert that I wasn't a part of.
How come?
I get the news that he's passed away, So I just only assumed that it was, drug related, because generally that's how it is. It may have, wrecked his body so much that it was not repairable. I don't know. He was a lovely man, had beautiful teeth, beautiful skin. He's an Indian.
Yeah.
And what a lovely man he was. And he influenced the premier slide player on the planet, and that's Dwayne Allman. So that's a big plus for him to carry on. So when you hear Dwayne, you're listening to Indian Ed Davis,
That's
or
beautiful.
Ed Davis. I called him Indian Ed Davis, but then some people are saying that sounds kind of racist.
No,
Well,
that's what everybody called him then.
Yeah,
he
Indian
liked
Ed.
that. He wanted to be called.
Yeah,
Indian Ed
he
Davis.
was a bona fide Indian.
Yeah.
Good
He's not
looking.
racist.
Damn, he had beautiful features and, long, straight black hair. A bona fide Indian. All he needed was a horse and a spear.
Yeah, his guitar
Yeah,
though.
Yeah.
Well, so you must have loved his playing as well.
I did. I loved his playing. It was when the band was Taj Mahal, and it's when the record used to do like Good Morning Little Schoolgirl. But it was Taj Mahal, Ed Davis, Chuck Blackwell, and Gary Gilmore on bass. Chuck Blackwell playing drums. I just loved that band, I actually did go see them somewhere like at the Whiskey or something, like the Whiskey A Go-Go or something like that. But I got to hear them every time they rehearsed, because they rehearsed right there in the front room of the plantation.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah. I got to know Taj and everything, It was great. It was great. It was a great experience for me. Taj Mahal, that's when he was singing, like he had like 4 different, frequencies in it. You could hear those layers in there. And the only other person that I knew that had those characteristics in their voice was Don Preston. And he's another Tulsa person. And I think he's still around. But I loved his singing and playing. And he too, at one point, crossed through the portals of the plantation, to do a thing with Delaney and Bonnie. But everybody, for the most part, who came into the orbit of Delaney and Bonnie left. It was like a stepping stone for a lot of people. A stepping stone for me when it was time for me to go. I was the very last one. I was the first friend. It just used to be Delaney and Bonnie and me. He was playing acoustic and we were singing background all over the place. And then we put the band together, so.
Well, it sounds to me like, of course, everybody was extremely talented already.
Yeah.
And it was just, they were doing that because Delaney and Bonnie were singing. A lot of them needed that avenue with a singer to have a band.
And because they had the ears to a world of very influential people. Delaney and Bonnie did.
Well, maybe that could have been the reason as well.
Well, yeah, and everybody, seemed like everybody could go through and step from Delaney and Bonnie and friends and become a success at who and what they wanted to be. Eric Clapton, for one, he didn't want to do Disraeli Gears all his life and play all that.
No, he wanted to grow.
Yeah, he wanted to grow, and he wanted to grow in lots of different ways. Vocally, being able to write songs and that kind of thing. Those are 2 guys that I really, really appreciated and just loved their ability to. I loved everybody's ability to walk on. You know, for some reason or other, I couldn't walk on until my time came, and then there was nothing left to do except that, and I didn't know what to do, so I called Steve Cropper, and I said, I've left Delaney and Bonnie, even though they were across the street and 2 doors down. And that was tough leaving them that close. So I couldn't just walk invisibly.
Right.
And I called Steve. I didn't know what to do. And he said, "Well, why don't you give Eric a call?" And
yes,
tell him what you told me.
He said that he thought the two of you would make
That's
a great
right.
pairing.
I read the thing, and I remember him, the discussion at his house in Memphis. And he said, I think you should call Eric. He said he could hear Eric and I playing and singing and everything together. Cropper had that kind of insight and ears. I mean, Steve Cropper, you know.
Right.
he knows when it works and what combinations of artists would work. And he was absolutely right. He was absolutely right about Eric and me.
It seems that like Jesse Ed Davis and Indian Ed Davis and J.J. Cale both sort of had a sort of a Zen feel about them.
Absolutely.
And maybe that would not work with Delaney at all. So.
No, I think he would get irritated at people who had any kind of connection with another world other than his, you know, who were in their own and didn't really need him. You know, right. He couldn't control them in any way.
Well,
Jimmy Karstein came to the gig. He's a drummer. He was our first drummer, and he came to the gig at Snoopy's Opera House. And get this, we're making $5 a night each, you know, and doing 5 sets at Snoopy's Opera House. And it had a pool table back there in the one room, and in this room it had like 8 two-tops. You know, that's the round tables, you know, for couples to sit at.
I'd never heard that before.
Yeah, 8 two-tops, and you know, 4 tops.
I got it.
Folks,
yeah.
And but yeah, 8 two-tops, and the stage is so small. I had my organ set on the dance floor, you know, and it was a pretty amazing experience.
So you said
that's where Graham Parsons.
What happened with Karstein? You were on the story about Karstein.
Yeah. Well, he showed up at the gig, and he had his bass drum, kick drum, yeah, a hi-hat, and a snare. Delaney was like, I remember it. He's looking around. Where's the rest of your drums, man? Where's your kit? Karstein said, this is it. I mean, not even a ride cymbal. He said, man, if I can't do it with this, I can't do it at all, you know. And so that was pretty much the last Karstein thing. And then Jim Keltner came into play. And that was always a good move. Whoever came in the door, even though they went out another one, it was always a step up. You know.
Well, I can tell you that Delaney never forgot that because he wouldn't ever praise Jimmy Karstein.
No.
Wouldn't.
No. He's a funny guy.
Yeah. So Keltner came along, and how did you come along having Keltner in the band?
I don't know.
See,
we attracted all these people. I mean, Mama Cass was in love with Bobby Keys. You know, she had a thing for Bobby Keys. And I mean, so we all of Hollywood, you know, we would go sit at their house and, you know, like what's that guy? Dang, I can see his face. And his daughter was married to one of these guys, and she's got all these kids now. And I can't remember her name. She had a long dark. Angelina Jolie.
Angelina's Jolie. Oh, her dad. Yeah.
Yeah. And when we went to her dad's house, and I can't remember him, but I could see his face.
Yeah.
You know, and we played there. And so then all these Hollywood people would come, and we played in some other tape editor, you know, editor's house. And then all these stars would come, and everybody was, you know.
Driving me crazy now. I had lunch next to him one day at Jerry's Deli.
Yeah, that's
Dang
the guy.
it. Yeah. And I'm like, God.
That's him.
Yeah.
And he's probably still sitting at that counter.
It was a table. It was a table for 4.
Yeah, a table for 4.
He came in and sat
A
right
4
next
top.
to me. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I know you. Yeah. But don't talk to me. Don't worry, I was thinking.
Yeah, I want you to recognize me, but don't
talk
say
to me.
anything.
John Voight.
John Voight, that's
Yeah.
him. Yeah. That's great. That's funny stuff. Yeah, we were a revolving door for all these great, great players, and
It was really cool because it was all happening, wasn't it?
yeah,
You could
yeah.
see it all going down.
And it
couldn't you?
seems like we were the center of it all for
You were.
quite some time, you know.
Right, right.
I mean, even bringing Eric into this team,
Sure.
George and stuff like that.
And that tour, it was only 2 weeks, or it was very short.
Yeah, it doesn't take too long to do a short tour. You know. But you'd have thought it was going to go on forever.
It sounded like, according to Delaney, it sounded like it went on for a long time.
Yeah, well, it didn't. And I mean, I was so wore out with Delaney and Bonnie's behavior that after the last gig, everybody was going to do the Christmas thing with John Lennon, and they all went. And I told Eric, I said, man, I don't want to go and be in the middle of this fiasco any longer. I said, because we were leaving like the next day, and I said, can I just stay here? He said, yeah, man, just go ahead and stay or make yourself at home. Look around, do anything you want. Go through every room, anything
That's
you want to do.
nice.
Lord, I did. And when I went back, what I really did was just built a nice big roaring fire and sat there and played guitar. And they were all hooting and hollering and everything as they drove off. And it was even worse when they came back hours later. And I was just shaking my head like I am right now. It's like, we left, and I think everybody was pretty surprised at the condition that Eric's place was left in. And you would have thought a bunch of Mississippi rednecks had been in the front room. It was a hell of a deal, I got to tell you. I did.
Wasn't Stigwood unhappy about that?
Yeah, he sent representatives from Stigwood's office, and
Hey.
they were real upset, at all the
Had trashed Eric's
drug
house.
doing, whiskey carrying on, and all. Just treated Eric's beautiful, beautiful home with utter disrespect. Except me. I lived in high water houses out in the middle of a cotton field. I would never even think of destroying a hotel room or someone who's being gracious to let us be in their home. Those kind of things would never enter my mind. I was an observer. I was the youngest one around. I was an observer. And I didn't get all locked up into a bunch of nonsense until after I went back when Eric and I were putting the band together, So when I did come back to Hurtwood Edge, when I arrived, he said, "You just go on in there and get you a room, And I already had it picked out, from the last time when I was there.
Nice.
Which really wasn't that long after the Delaney and Bonnie invasion. That's probably a good way to put that.
Invasion.
Yeah. But back to our main characters of this little deal, JJ and Ed Davis, great talents, and it didn't get lost. They didn't get lost in the melee of everything.
What do you think was the attraction to Eric concerning J.J. Cale? Was it his just relaxed feel and
Probably.
his,
And his songs were consistent. He had After Midnight already written. He came to the session and said, "Here you go. I got this for you."
Cool.
There was a lot of that was going down. I didn't know it would take her. I just got something. Here you go. And my time came a little later.
Right.
But
You weren't looking for that, you
no,
didn't know.
I wasn't looking to be a rock star. I was looking to play great music with great players, and I did that rock star thing came as like an added. I wouldn't say bonus because it's not a big bonus being a rock star. It's more like a thorn, you know. And
Well, you've enjoyed it, I'm sure.
I did. Oh, I had a hell of a
Sure.
time.
Has its perks.
You know, I did. I had a great time. All the time I spent in England was a great time. My recovery, you know, my recovery from my fall, that's something else.
But this is your story, so
Yeah.
that's what makes it so wonderful. I mean,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
your personal
And
story.
first time I'm really telling things, saying things about a lot of stuff, you know. And I mean, now this little thing that we do, you know, in the morning, evening, whenever we do it, you know, it's important to people all over the world. I mean, we got something from somebody this morning that said, yes, Russia is listening to your what are these podcasts?
YouTube.
YouTube.
Watching the YouTube channel. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Russia is watching your YouTube channel. Well, we get people commenting and talking to us from all over the planet, from Australia to Russia to
Sao Paulo,
oh yeah,
I mean, all kinds of places.
just everywhere.
Italy,
You know,
the Netherlands.
the Netherlands, people who are really cold. Up there in some of the, you know, Alaska. We've heard from people from Alaska.
And all over the United States, of course.
Yeah, all over the United States for sure. But it's amazing. It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing journey.
And thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Everyone out there
Yeah.
watching the videos.
Yeah, thank you all for dialing in.
We try not to offend anybody. Sometimes it happens. We don't mean to offend
I
anyone.
don't mean
it's
it.
not intentional.
Sometimes I you know, say things that I shouldn't say, and you know, but what's said is said and done. So, but I stand by my beliefs. Stand by what I know. What I say might be interpreted another way, but it's exactly right to me, and how I say it. Someone else may look at it as like, oh, he's shooting him down again, or knocking him down. I never did such a thing for anybody. Never happened. Never happened. You know, Dwayne Allman was a good friend for a long time. You know, I knew him before.
And I was going to say that Greg was godfather to your daughter.
Yeah, Greg he was there with me in Macon, Georgia, in the hospital, drinking Heineken out in the lobby, and when my daughter Ashley was born, yeah, he's her godfather. And he had a broke arm, he had a cast on. I used to have some photos of he and I standing at this window, and they showing me my child, you know, my baby, and he had a big cast on. He fell in the shower, you know. You fall in the shower, there ain't nothing to grab onto except the floor. You know? That's about it.
Sorry. Oh man, that's good. Well, we can end with a little Greg thing today.
Yeah. But
The Godfather.
yeah, Greg's the godfather. You know?
Yeah.
I liked him. I like Greg. He was a good guy.
Well, top of the morning to you.
Yeah, and you, sweetheart, and everybody else. Have a great day. Stay safe.